Hi, this is Val Campbell, and I want to welcome you to the First Chapter podcast. Today we're going to meet a new author. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it. So it's so nice to meet you, and I find your work very interesting. You're a musician, right? This is Paul Saad. Did I pronounce you right? Saad,
Yeah,
Saad?
yeah.
Okay. And Paul wrote a book called The American Wealth and Creation Stories, right?
Yes.
Is that your only book so far?
Yes. Yeah, that's my first one.
Okay. Um, and and you have a background as a musician and songwriter. Is that correct?
Yes.
So go ahead, tell us about that.
So yeah, I used to tour around the country playing music, and I liked writing, but I felt like I wasn't mature enough maybe to write full novels when I was like 18, 20. So I started writing songs, and it's like short form poetry almost. And
Mm-hmm.
I did okay at that. I have like a YouTube, I post my stuff, and I met all kind of people. And but then I went back to college, and I took a professor got me to write more. I needed someone to tell me to write like that, and I started this book there, and it's been like that ever since. I've been writing. So
So you say you toured the country with a band by yourself. What were you doing during that period? How did that work?
well, I guess I kind of had a writer's instinct of I knew a lot of people in bands that the band breaks up and someone says they own the music and they wrote it, and then they don't have anything to show for themselves because they were just in this band. So I started publishing under my name, and I just made sure that these were my songs. I tried to record them on my own, but I've had friends who have helped with shows and things. But yeah, I would go all the way as far as New Mexico. I had a friend in Salinas, California, even, and he would record with me. And I just played under my name as a songwriter at most of those shows.
What
But
instruments?
sometimes,
What instruments do you
right.
play?
Guitar, drums, piano, the whole 9 yards. I've been playing guitar since I was like 12, 11, 7 years old, I think, actually. And so a lot of it was taught through the schools, but I learned piano on my own when I was 18. And yeah, it's just something that it still gives back. I still teach music, and yeah, I don't know. It's the way I write, I kind of like to it's very intuitive, I guess. It's because I always like to. I hated, like you said, I hated being told what to play. Like especially when I was 7, it was like the teacher would get mad. He'd be like, you're not practicing. Don't come back." He didn't say don't come back because my parents were paying, but they were like, you're not getting anywhere with this. But then one day I just liked listening to my records. I liked playing on my own, and that helped learn. I learned better doing that than I did by sitting in a room with a teacher or something.
Sure. My guitar teacher, when I was about 12, I don't know, something like that, told my parents, he said, "You're wasting your money to take this kid away. He's not serious." And it wasn't. All I wanted to do was run around outside and play ball. You know, I mean, that was me. It was like I was just sitting still was probably the hardest thing. I probably had some kind of a attention deficit thing or something. But anyway, it's it is amazing because I've known people, you know, who played. I knew a kid played every instrument in the band. I mean, he was just now you just pick it up and just play it practically. He was great. So it is. I just have this huge appreciation, given my background as a drum major, where I was kind of leading the band, right, the orchestra leader, sort of, if you will, in the moment. So I just appreciate that. So you wrote a book, American Wealth and Creation Stories, which is about three young people in the 2010 area in New Mexico primarily, right? These are tech workers. Did I get this correct?
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. That's they're new tech workers, so they kind of get wrapped up in something that they don't know much about to start. So yeah, pretty much though.
Can we infer from that that you ran into some people in New Mexico that fit that description? Is that where your muse came from?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't want to. Not exactly. I mean, I spent a long time out there because it's cheap to live there, and I was living with some other musicians, and it was just really inspiring, and I recorded a lot, and yeah, I still just remember a lot from it. I was there for like 6 months, and it's stuck with me, especially when it's winter here. I just want to go back, but I yeah, no, I really miss it, and it was like I'm just fascinated by like the ideas of just a lot of things there. There's a lot going on. I feel like it's yeah. Do you have any more questions about it? I feel like there's a lot I could say. I just don't know where
No,
to
you're
go.
fine. I'm just this is just visiting. We don't have a huge agenda here. I just want to get to know you a little bit more, and I'm always curious about how authors get started, and the process, etc. In fact, I'm in the process myself right now of creating a master class on how to become an author, because it's right now it's eight classes, but because it is such an interesting process. You go from whatever you're doing to now becoming a writer, an author, and it's not something that I'm aware of that's taught anywhere really. It's a you just got to dig in and get started. You might have a writing teacher in college. I had one. She was great, but that's not the same thing as becoming an author, right? So I'm always interested in the process. So why and I'm chuckling a little bit here. My knowledge of musicians, they tend to communize sort of wherever they go, right? It's like they create this little musician colony, in their, whether it's the Capitol Hill in New York or Taos, New Mexico, or someplace like that. Well, Taos is more art though, right?
Yeah, there's differences among them. Yeah.
but
Um,
but but yeah, they find each other, kind of like Filipinos. My wife's from the Philippines. They just find each other. You go to any community, and she'll go, "Oh, way across the store, see that woman? She's a Filipina," and boom, they're gone. It's kind of like that with musicians. They find themselves in the coffee houses or the venues or whatever, and pretty soon they're collaborating. So I appreciate that. But why a musician? Why write about the tech workers? What was your inspiration for that? What about that clicked in your brain?
um, well, I think my life changed. I mean, kind of like you said, like it's a very social medium, like more social than anything else, because you need to physically play with other people a lot of the time. And I kind of got sick of people. Quite honest, not really, kind of, but I mean, I got older, is what I'm saying. Like I got older, and I did get more isolated. Where like I went back to school, and I really focused on what I was doing, and I started thinking about the past, but it's an isolating medium in a way, which I kind of liked. Like I kind of like that, and it seems like my brother told me that the best writers, you get better at writing novels as you get older, and I've been getting older, and that's like what I wanted to do with songs in terms of storytelling. And there's some songs I wrote, I felt like I did write good stories, and there's obviously songwriters who they write these big stories. There's the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, whatever, and there's
Gordon
this,
Lightfoot.
yeah, and there's a songwriter I really like called Dan Byrne, and he's very literary, and I think he used to live in New Mexico, and Bob Dylan, all that stuff, and uh, so I wanted to write, but I felt really limited after a few years of doing that, where I wanted to do something bigger because you can only say so much in 30 lines or whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but it's profound. Are you familiar with the Kelsey Ballerini?
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, she's, my opinion, she's amazing in her ability to turn lyrics into third level concepts. And her song Peter Pan, I think is just a really just lyrically is just awesome. So in some ways it's easier. If I'm writing a novel, I've got 140,000 words that I can, develop my story. And like you said, you got 30 lines and a chorus that repeats, and it's like the need that you have in music to be succinct and be very, very, deliberate in delivering your words, I think is a remarkable, and that's going to lend itself to you as an author as you go on, because you are going to grow. You're young, and you're going to grow as in your skills and your abilities. And I'm just excited to interface with you. But again, why tech workers? Why didn't you pick musicians? It's your craft, but you picked tech workers. There's something about that that clicked for you.
I mean, the biggest inspiration, I guess it's just ambition in a way. Well, I had the name actually. I had American Wealth and Creation Stories because I would just write notes when I was writing songs, even before I had this idea to write a book. And I had this crazy title for a album of music. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a music album. Like, it's just so weird, but it sounds so like it sounded powerful. And I was like, what am I saying with that title? So I had the title first, and I'm a big fan of Scott Fitzgerald's. I That was the only book when I was a kid that I actually read in school. I was because I would thumb through everything else and spark notes. I wasn't that interested in reading like Tolstoy or the because I just didn't have the attention span. And I read Great Gatsby when I was like I don't like 16, I think, and I was like, what is this writing? Like I really feel like he of all the writers I've read, he had a very lyrical prose. It was very like every word it felt like a melody or something, and I really was impressed by it. But I thought about like the themes of what Fitzgerald did with those books where it's like he's talking about class and wealth in America and stuff, but he's doing it in this like I feel like it's in a way where it goes over a lot of people's heads, especially a 16-year-old, where he's very much striving to be part of that, and that was his life, but he's also sees that it's very silly and like there's all these weird complexities and like it's uh it's very jaded in a way when he writes, but it's also very funny. And
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go for something like that. It's also tragic, and it's like it's just I am not like one to write about like I don't know if it was where I was at in life too, where I went back to school and I was like just seeing how this economy works and stuff, and I started thinking about the like what is going on in America, like what is the current like uh patterns of where things are going, because and that was really much the model of like these bootleggers and these kind of like oil barons or whatever was happening in the 20s of like real industry tycoon stuff going on. And I just wanted to like kind of bring that into a new era in a way.
The new F. Scott Fitzgerald. Huh? This is good. you know, um, yeah, he did an awesome job, and you're right. The way that he metered words, the delivery of that, and how descriptive he was. One of the things that made him such a great writer was that he was able to give you the vision in your head by reading the words, right? And he pointed out the vanity and the superficiality of a lot of what he was, the culture and what he was writing about. So, really good. So you picked up the tech industry, if you will, as the parallel to the industrialization of the 20s and the roaring 20s and what that brought in, right? Did I get that?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So, can you share with us a little bit about your writing experience? You at some point down time you were taking notes, right? You're traveling around. You're a musician. You're writing and recording and performing, and you're taking notes, and something is cooking in the back of your brain. Tell us what happened when you sat down. If this is how it came together, maybe it wasn't for you. You one day you sat down in front of a computer and you started writing. What was that like?
um well,
Did I get that right? Is that how it happened for you?
so to be honest, I had to do this for a class originally, and but it was kind of like that where I just signed up for it, and then it was like, what are you going to write about? So I was supposed to write 20 pages, and that's what this is. What I sent you was the first chapter was the 20 pages. And honestly, as I've gone on, I think I've gotten better. So it's not. I don't think it's my best work, these 20 pages, but it's good to like introduce. Well, I think I actually sent you like 5 pages, but I wrote the first 4 chapters, uh, basically isolated in the basement of my school in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I had this little job where I was a tutor to students, and nobody came for half the time because I was just open availability.
Mm.
And so it was nice for me. And I just sat there alone. It was the first time I was just alone with my thoughts and a page. And I just started, it was like a memory play almost. They say that Tennessee Williams, what he called all his original works were memory plays because they were just written in the future of what happened, but it's what he remembered about St. Louis and whatever else. And that's kind of how it felt. Like it was like these are my memories and I'm going to try and connect them in an interesting way. And I just got to I had the I had to write that. So I did. I was alone with my thoughts. So yeah, I maybe I'll talk about the book a bit more
Yeah, go ahead.
just to set that up, and then yeah, you can just patch it in. So basically we're following George, who I might have I changed the name of him now to Marco because I want to kind of incorporate this like Hispanic element that we're kind of getting just around the country, the Hispanic influence in the Southwest, and I'm exploring that. And it's not a political novel. Like I feel like it touches on themes that people are dealing with, but it's not taking a side on that. I really don't want to do that because I don't think that's good writing to take a side on too much on things. So I'm doing. I wanted to see things as they are is really what I want to do, and I hope that's coming through in it. So it's about Marco or George. He's our narrator, and he's been friends with. This is a bit of a funny. I call the character Alamo, who's he's like a second generation, third generation Texan, New Mexico type guy, and there's a lot of those guys out there. So, but he's like a tall white guy, and he's his best friend, and he has a girlfriend named Genoa, which is I might change these names later on, but that's kind of a cool. It's just a type of salami in Italian city, and they're all friends, and the two are dating, and they can't find a job, and a lot of it's just I want to expand those characters in terms of like my experience as a young person, how young people feel these days, and just struggling and like, but kind of living in this weird environment where things are changing because they don't know how to get ahead because they don't know what's going to happen next in terms of like it's not the same economy they grew up in, it's not the same country they grew up in, and that's how I felt for a while, and that's kind of what I'm exploring through them. And a lot of other characters come in later on, but basically they meet a guy named Asher, and you're going to see him mentioned at the end of this chapter. But he becomes the main character. He's kind of our Gatsby, but not really. Like originally, I thought about I need some big rich character, and so he's the son of a really wealthy finance guy, but he's kind of a knucklehead good for nothing type guy who he's kind of like a new hippie or something, and he has all his father's money, and he comes out to the desert, and he has no clue how to run a business, but he wants to prove something to his parents.
Well, that was a great interview, Paul. Now, let's take a few minutes and listen to Paul reading part of his first chapter.
American Wealth and Creation Stories, Chapter 1. So many days in the rain. My body took a half hour to start in the morning. Like a beaten down car, I required oil or something like it. Coffee or something like it. Coffee, nicotine, gum. It's a roughneck, punk, desert-type badge to run on anything except food for hours of the day. I was beset by two conflicts, how to grow and how to survive. They often cooperated. The urge to eat, fuck, sleep created a dog of me with a hot head who ran desperately at everything. Soft, cool trees provided after coarse rebellion, life itself being both polite and controlled. I wandered a lot those days, resting. Graffiti was scrawled everywhere in Santa Fe County. and shopping carts of garbage, and their dutiful bums managed the sidewalks. My parents talked about moving, and of course they never did. The Mogadishu sun poked in my eyeballs, drying them roughly and painfully. I sat in the dried dirt and watched time go by. I was aware of politics and aware something was always happening far away from New Mexico. I was aware people flew in. I was aware of too much, and it might have been an effect of youth and precociousness. It might have been that I didn't eat. Please, don't feel bad for me. I was having a great time. Most days, it was Alamo, Genoa, and my tired body sitting in a parking lot. We had a small speaker playing rage punk. It's not that hard. Everyone does it. Everyone works. Genoa was beating down on us about how she had a job and we didn't. Things used to be a lot more fun. Alamo seemed nervous and insecure. He was her boyfriend of about 2 years. I am working. I get up every day and do Grubhub. I sit on my laptop all night too, he shouted at Genoa. I am working. I get up every day and do Grubhub. I sit on my laptop all night too, he shouted at Genoa. I'm just worried. She went quiet and grabbed her knees in cannonball position on the curb. Everyone sat in silence for a while. I grabbed my bag and fed a stray. I talked about sports. Alamo got annoyed by this too. Everything's so hard. They keep telling me to be strong. I want a soft place, somewhere fucking quiet for once, he said sadly as the cars growled on the adjacent road. I'm not sure there's a soft place on Earth, at least if you're unfortunate. So, we continued kicking rocks. My parents still let me sleep in my little childhood room. I woke up every morning and walked around in the sand for a while. A short drive from my house was nothing but desert in every direction. It was like that for everyone in New Mexico. All that refreshed this scene was the mountains. The mountains stood hopefully in the background of every situation, brightly in the corner of everyone's eye. New Mexico is beautiful and highly creative, yet tied to the American system like everywhere else in the country. I took comfort in the Navajo Hogans and the Catholic missions. The government and the schools, the money games, were big all around us. It all blended together as New York Yankees, Spider-Man, Reputation, Cocapelli, Ford, The Godfather, The Corner Store, Nob Hill, Controversy, The Mountains, Sand, and Scandal all turned into one sick religion that every youth was baptized into by age 14. I realized we had no identity, that wealth was our only creation story. Thankfully, people were simple, and simple people are hard to fool. No one had time to care about TV or pretend language. We were here in our place, and that was that. I realized from a young age survival is all we had, and that is a sad thing. It's a sad thing, but it kept us busy. Do you want to kick rocks today? I asked Alamo. We could throw stones at the sky, Alamo answered. Why would we throw stones at the sky? Alamo was my best friend since junior year of high school. It needs to know we're here, I guess, said Alamo in a hurt way. I don't know, maybe. I'm intimidated by the whole discussion. Alamo picked up a rock from the dirt road. He spat on the ground lazily. He rubbed his eyes. Look! Alamo cried as he hurled a rock at the sky. I thought the sky might break. It didn't break, but maybe Alamo knew something. He knew that the sky would listen to us if we tried to get in touch with it. It was after that day that whenever I could, I tried to get in touch with the sky. Tired is how I think it might be best to describe Alamo. He knew community college was over and was ready for the end. He seemed eager. He seemed eager. Life sort of always came to me. I didn't chase. I thought that was a modern thing about me. I thought I was passive and that somehow that would prove to be a good thing. And I didn't want to compare myself to Alamo. Weeks came and weeks went. Nothing weeks. We all graduated from Santa Fe Community College. The ceremony was in a dusty auditorium. Our parents were Nuevo Mexicanos that sadly hung on to dignity as the world changed around it. They weren't Mexican or American. They were Nuevo Mexican, and they would tell you about it. On this note, the Zia symbol clung to a pole in the corner as its piss color dripped onto the floor and folded in on itself. We had this weird pride. It was hard to be proud of the school, the state, or really anything. It was shameful because it wasn't a real college. Our parents were happy we did anything. I thought the tough guys in my town made instant gains, the Republican people. They skipped school, took a job, bought some toys like motorbikes and ATVs. Often their bodies were wrecked by 50 and their wives had divorced them. I felt like the liberal types were losers at first and won later. They went to college, got good grades, and suffered through a broke youth, being bullied by the TV. Eventually, they lived to 80 and got richer and crueler towards the end. Some people have to be strong and smart, and those are probably the best people. Most people lived at extremes, and the world around them told them it was normal. I wanted to be one of those rare types without cruelty or arrogance. I could only manage 2 years of school. I needed to shed my adolescence and the bored, broken down life my friends and I all had. I wasn't going back to school, and I was resolved to that. The only thing in my way was survival and growth. The only thing in the way of my survival and growth was that I wanted to let things come to me. I wasn't going back to school, and I was resolved to that. A few days after graduation, Alamo called me out of nowhere. He found a subreddit of people wanting to try something. I didn't go on Reddit. I didn't know why he did that. Lonely, I guess. I said, "That's great," and I hung up, sort of disgusted at the thought of browsing after years of corporate brain drain. Weeks went by and I didn't hear from the outside world. I stared at the walls and argued with my parents. I tried to escape, but my mind could only go into books, video games, things like that. My body was trapped. I finally decided to walk around downtown after another week of nothing. Alamo was in a gold and silver engraving shop looking for a new chain necklace. He hadn't mentioned his online plan since that day. He seemed confident he would have miraculously large accounts soon. I walked away to clear my mind. I saw an older man around 50 sitting in a cafe facing the open air in the street. Orange stucco and sleepy branches covered the sitting area. It is with every ounce of spunk I had left in my 20s that I said hello. "Hi, nice day," I nod. "Great day," he smiled. He was small. He was fit to a degree that showed he didn't enjoy being his age and wanted to keep up with younger men. He clearly could afford nicer clothes. There were a lot of these retirees in Santa Fe. So I consciously looked at him with boredom and disdain. I felt guilty because he was seemingly kind, though. I stepped away a little. He stops me. "Hey, kid, watch out for the mountains. It's hard to get down from there." There's a little pause as he looks at me. "Is that where you're going?" He looks concerned. He's perhaps not concerned with me, but with something else. It's maybe a broken pipe on his mind, a debt he owes. It shows on his face. I look back, not thinking much. "No, I'm not. Thanks anyway." Watch out for the mountains. I wanted to forget the whole thing. It was creepy. I didn't ask for a warning. I walk home. A few days go by and nothing turns up. I consider putting on a suit and handing resumes around town like a real loser. Finally, Alamo invites me over. The room is still. There's a brown couch covered in stains, white stucco walls, and jars of plants facing the window light. I see flint arrowheads and a bookshelf untouched. I sit down, and through a small angle into his bedroom, a shrine appears as the sight of 2 large monitors, speakers, and a high-powered computer console sit dauntingly. Alamo smiles, sighs, and squats on the couch with his hands on his knees. He is quick and careless. He is tall and thin. "So, I've been looking." "Yes," I get mad. He released his hands outward in celebration. "I'm joining a startup, man. Some guy from California found me online." I look at him confused and bored. He continues, "Salinas Superman. That's where he comes from." "That's his name? Salinas Superman?" "No, his name's Asher. That's his username." "Cool, so you found something. I guess you'll be busy now?" I'm mad again. He's working for someone named Asher. "I'll go to Tijeras every day." He smiled conceitedly. There's silence. The room is filled with dust and old wood. "So, you want to come? At least to meet the guy. I don't know if you can work for him like that much, but maybe you can come out and see it. He built this place in the mountains." Tijeras was a town 20 minutes outside Albuquerque in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. I thought about those old people who told me to be careful, while they sit in Santa Fe, sipping coffee, rich. I'm sure they all took risks and enjoyed it. I'm sure they all lied. "What's going on in Tijeras?" "Bro, that's where we're building," says Alamo. "Building what?" "The home." "I thought you said he was rich. I thought he built it already." "No, we're going up there to help him." "Is he paying you?" I asked skeptically. "We're getting options, bro. Better than pay." "That's not pay." We're building solar, polyfiber, stream-based energy, frog pond, 30-inch monitors, studio speakers, Alamo slobbered. He is loaded, bro. I continue my inquisition. Have you ever met him in person? It was a phone call. He has a website. It's real, bro. Trust me. That's why I need you. You gotta come up with me. I'm bringing 2-3 guns in the trunk and plenty of Uncrustables, some water. If the car breaks, we're covered. If he's nasty, we're covered. I can't go alone, though. I sighed. Fine. I was arrogant. I guess I hated that old man. I think I agreed just to spite him. The whole thing felt disturbed. That was Santa Fe County, though, a sandbox county. It was always weird and unforgiving. It was hard to take advice from old men. So that's how it turned. I went to the mountains after community college graduation to meet Asher.